on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. You know who it is by now,
Jimothy.
So ladies and gents, we are back with another episode of Boardbreakers, and I decided to use my Nekroz Dogmatika deck that I profiled on the channel a couple of days ago. Now, after a bit of testing IRL, I've decided, or just realized, that the deck suffers from a few problems, mainly because I put two engines together. I've got less flexibility, but more consistency. So my deck does what it's supposed to do. But in doing what it's supposed to do, it means that it can't react to certain situations, and I realized I don't have much back row removal and I don't have many going second options. So this board breaker is a bit of a litmus test to decide whether or not I need to make some major changes to the deck, or just include some things that can break some boards. For example, Dark Riddle No More, which is a bit of a blowout card, to be honest. But yeah. So I'm going to shuffle up here, and I'm just going to say I had a quick conversation with a few of my friends, and they were suggesting that I get somebody else to test with to be able to time when my interactions are. Now, after I thought about it, I thought to myself, you know what, this series is for you guys to comment, let me know what you would have done in this situation so I can learn from you guys. Also, it also is a bit of a training, a little bit of thought process for myself to decide when my opponent would interact. And I'm never always going to be correct, but it just helps me to get an idea of when they would interact. For example, I've got Borrowload Savage Dragon and two monster negates in the form of Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon and Dragoonity Reed Bear on field. So obviously they're going to hold the Borrowload Savage to be able to negate something a little bit more impactful than a monster effect, because they've got that covered. So that's just something that I've learned from being able to do these board breakers. But anyway, ladies and gents, that's enough of me waffling on. Let me see if I can break this 3 negate board with Nekroz Dogmatika. So split the deck. So we are going to draw 6 cards because we are going second. So we've got 1 Shrit, 1 Nekroz of Glasslas, 1 Nadir Servant, 1 Nekroz Kaleidoscope, okay, 1 Nekroz of Brainac, as well as another Nadir Servant, okay. So this is an interesting one indeed. This is an interesting one indeed. So I've got a Brainac, and I've got a Kaleidoscope. So my first line of play would be we need to get rid of some negates. I want to try and hold my Nadir Servant, mainly because it's going to allow me to have a little bit of a follow-up should I get through the other 2 negates, because obviously Savage Dragon can negate all these spell cards and effects.
A few moments later,
I would fire off Glasslas. In fact, no, because yeah, I'd fire off Glasslas. Now this is where it's an interesting junction. I've got 5 cards in hand. My opponent obviously knows that they can negate with Borrowload Savage Dragon, but would they negate the Glasslas to be able to search for a spell effect? Probably not, because they could just negate the spell effect with Borrowload Savage Dragon, but they are not aware of my hand. So in this instance, I would actually grab myself another copy of Nekroz Kaleidoscope, because I do actually run 2 in the deck. Mainly because you can send monsters from your extra deck to the graveyard. So then I would activate the Kaleidoscope. Now hopefully that should bait out the Borrowload Savage Dragon, because he doesn't know what I have in hand. I could potentially go into a Unicorn, which is definitely something that this board specifically does not want to happen. So we'll assume that my opponent would negate the Kaleidoscope with the Borrowload Savage Dragon. So that's the spell and trap negate down. Fortunately for them, or unfortunately for them, I do have another Kaleidoscope in hand. So it's where do we go from here? So I would actually activate the other Kaleidoscope, and I would use my Shurit Strategist of Nekroz to be able to be the full tribute for my Nekroz of Brainac. Let me just sort this sleeve out, and I will summon out my Nekroz of Brionac. Shurit would then activate to be able to add me a warrior monster from my deck to my hand. The question is, would my opponent negate this? Probably. We'll assume that they will negate with the Arid Bear. We'll assume that they'll negate with the Arid Bear and negate and banish. So my strategist of Nekroz will negate and banish. Now, the reason why I have to think about this, ladies and gents, is mainly because the Arid Bear will get rid of a resource from grave. Now, obviously, my Shurit is able to be used again from grave to be the whole tribute cost for a Nekroz monster. Now, you don't necessarily want your opponent to have access to that type of resource. So now we're only left with a Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon for a negate. So in this instance, I can actually go safely and fire off my Nadir Servant. Now, the question is, who do I want? Okay, so with Nadir Servant, I will send my Outer Entity Entis to be able to add me my Dogmatika Ecclesia the Virtuous. And then on resolution, I would activate Entis' effect to be able to pop the Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. Now, obviously, Crystal Wing is going to chain his negate now and negate the Entis, which is fine, which is not a problem. I can then, now that I've burnt through all the negates, I can then activate my Nekroz of Brionac to target, who shall we get rid of? We'll target the Arid Bear and the Crystal Wing, mainly because Crystal Wing's now on like 5500 attack, and Arid Bear's got 3200 attack, which are two beefy attacks that are going to find it difficult to get over. So we'll bounce these two monsters back to the extra deck, and then I will proceed to summon out my Ecclesia Virtuoso. Or special summon it, because my opponent controls a Barrowlord Savage Dragon. Ecclesia will activate her effect to be able to fetch me a monster. Now, in this instance, I'm gonna grab Dogmatika Maximus. Now, this is where it's a bit contentious, ladies and gents. So I'm going to summon out the Maximus by banishing my Outer Entity Entis. I will summon him in defense position, just to be safe. Let's not overextend where we don't need to. Now, this is where you activate Maximus's effects. Now, this is where it can be a little bit problematic, because if your opponent has any kind of extra deck monster that will plus off Maximus's effect, this is where you can land yourself in a little bit of trouble. But nevertheless, we're going to activate it anyway, because, you know, we're going for broke here. So from this position, I am going to send two monsters from my extra deck to the grave. So I'm going to send my Herald of Arclight and my Titanic Lad, the Ash Dragon. So those two are going to get sent to the grave. My opponent's going to send their monsters to the grave. And on resolution, I'm going to activate my Herald of the Arclight, because it was sent to the graveyard. I can add myself a ritual monster or a ritual spell from my deck to my hand, which is an interesting one. So who do we want? We'll add a Brionac. Then we'll activate Brionac's effect to pitch himself to the grave to be able to add myself a Nekroz of Unicorn from deck to hand as a little bit of a follow-up So if they do manage to break my board, I can actually be come back with my Nekroz of Unicorn on the following turn to be able to do some stuff. So I've got 2 cards in hand. Then I will decisions. Then we'll proceed to end phase, ladies and gents. And an end phase Titanic Clad would activate to be able to grab me my Fleur de Lis United. And that would be my end board, ladies and gents. Now, obviously, thinking about it now, I probably could have played that out a little bit differently. I probably could have completely cleared the board. Off Maximus, I could have potentially sent Titanic Lad and another Entis to be able to pop my Borrowload Savage Dragon, but I wouldn't have had much of a follow-up, and my board doesn't actually have any kind of interaction on my opponent's turn. However, with this hand, I've got a little bit of follow-up in Nekroz of Unicorn, because if they clear my field, I can banish one of my Kaleidoscopes and my Colossalas from my graveyard to be able to add me a Nekroz spell or trap. And then I've got Nekroz of Unicorn in hand, and I've also got another Dear Servant for the following turn, which potentially will enable me to go into my White Knight of Dogmatika, should my opponent build a semi-structured board. So yes, there was a little bit of a contention. I could have probably done that a little bit differently, but all in all, the board is semi-broken. We've still got a Borrowload Savage Dragon to deal with, to be honest, but it's better than facing down a Crystal Ring as well as a Reed Bear. So yeah. So let's go into the next test hand, ladies and gents. Okay, we are back. Boardbreakers test hand numero 2. So let's see if we can get as far as we did last turn. Now, like I said, this deck does need a little bit of work. Going second is a bit of a problem, and it's very difficult to navigate boards with limited or finite resources, whilst being able to have a follow-up as well as to be able to have some kind of interaction on your opponent's turn, because it's all good clearing the board, but if you don't put yourself in a position where you're in an advantage, it's a little bit pointless, because you're basically going to clear their board and just have nothing to follow up with, and you could lose to a single card. So it's always good to have a little bit of follow-up, in my opinion. So we are shuffled up. Let's cut this deck and see what we get off the top now. Oh gosh, 6 cards. Let's go again. So we've got 1 Ecclesia, which is fine, 1 Cyphering Gamma, 1 Nekroz of Trish, another Ecclesia, wow, 1 Herald of the Abyss, as well as 1 Nekroz of Reed Bear. So ladies and gents, this is not the best hand at all. Not the best hand at all, if I do say so myself. Alright, so very simple though. There's only a few lines of play that we can realistically do here. I'm going to activate Herald of the Abyss, and I'm going to call out Wind Dragon Monster, basically. So my opponent would have to send a Wind Dragon Monster from their field to the grave, but obviously Borrowload Savage Dragon would have to negate that, because they're not going to want to lose a negate or a resource. So we'll say we baited off the Savage Dragon once again, which I think Herald of the Abyss is a fantastic card. However, in response to Borrowload Savage Dragon, I would attempt to chain Cyphering Gear Gamma. Now my opponent has to decide whether they want to burn their Reed Bear negate or not, or the Crystal Wing. So it could be either one of these, ladies and gents. Let's just say, for example's sake, we'll go with the Crystal Wing. So Crystal Wing will negate and destroy my Cyphering Gear Gamma. So that's 2 negates down, as well as 1 negate still on board, and I've yet to summon a monster, which is a good position to be in, but the rest of my hand does not do a lot. I've got 1 Trishula, which isn't going to do much, to be honest, and I've got 1 Reed Bear, which doesn't do much unless I've got some kind of, you know, follow-up. I've got no spells to be able to search anything, and I've got Trishula really doesn't really do much, to be honest, anyway, apart from negate targeting. It would be good if I could get him on field, but I don't have much. So the only other option I've got is To special out my Ecclesia and activate her effect, Ecclesia will definitely get met with an Reed Bear, because my opponent is not going to want to allow me to get to either Dogmatika Punishment or Fleur de Lis. And if they've got a point of interaction, they're probably going to burn it on my Ecclesia. So my Ecclesia will get negated and banished. Fun times. So I've got 3 cards in hand. I've burnt through all the negates, but like I said previously, ladies and gents, it's no good having clearing the board or burning through negates if you've got no follow-up. And the only other hand that I've got left to play with now is to normal summon my Ecclesia with no effect, because I've used her effect already. It's only once per turn it can be used. It doesn't say activated, so I can't even use it again. A Reed Bear does nothing, Trishula does nothing. Both one-offs, both huge monsters that I can't get onto the field without any kind of spout or trap. So I'm probably just gonna have to set my Ecclesia. And then I will just have to pass turn, ladies and gents, with 2 cards in hand. One Trishula, one Reed Bear. Like I said, that is the best that I think that hand could have done against a board such as this. They've played around Lightning Storm somewhat because I've got 2 monsters in defense position, but it's just how the game would have played out, ladies and gents. Like I said, you can't always break a board. But anyway, ladies and gents, we find ourselves at the end of another video. Whether anything I did that you think I could have done differently, or any kind of decisions I made that you probably wouldn't have made, if so, get at me in that comment section below. And as always, if you do enjoy this content, you know what to do by now. Hit that like button, share, subscribe, all of that beautiful good stuff, and I will definitely see you guys on the next video. Hope you enjoyed. Peace.